It's red.
Okay, the record button has been pressed.
Correct.
And what about the external hard drive? Is that plugged in all the way? Did you double check?
Yes, everything. Thank you, Erin.
Yes, you're welcome.
Everything is great.
I'm here to micromanage.
Well, you do a really good job at it.
Thanks.
Yeah, you do. I mean, you're all right. I mean, you do well enough.
Well,
yeah.
Well, why don't you let well enough be?
Well, okay, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, all right.
I keep coming back, don't I?
Well, we do record in your basement, so.
Well,
It's a daylight basement. We got some sunshine coming through.
Yeah, it's not a basement, is it? I mean, really? This is a nice space. What do you the people who can't see in here are going to think we're in some like cinder block basement. It puts the lotion on the skin,
They would never know if they watched some of their podcasts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that record in their closet. And the reason why they record in their closet is because the clothes in the closet provide a space where there's no echo and it buffers the outside noise. Usually those podcasts aren't also videos, but that's a really great pace to record.
Right?
Yeah.
An audio only would be fine.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've got a room right in there that's had foam all over the place, and it was still terrible. And we're in a concrete structure here.
Yeah. But we do have the windows that face the busy street, though.
I know.
So that's the one thing, but it's fine.
Yeah. We try not to record during, there's a high school just about a mile away. Listen. You hear that?
Yes,
Lunch.
I do. Mm-hmm.
Lunch.
Lunchtime. They come through with their vehicles that are too loud for their britches.
I know.
They can't
too
even
loud
handle
for
it.
their britches. Is that what you just said? Their britches.
Instead of too big.
Too big for your britches. I never understood really what that meant.
I have no
idea. That means you got really tight pants on, doesn't it?
Well, you know what we should do is a whole podcast
too big for your britches.
On
That's
sayings
the style now.
And where they're coming from. Like where
I
do these
suggested.
things?
I'm the one who brought that up like three podcasts. If you don't remember, I said we need.
So
I said we need to do on sayings and memes and things like that. Sayings that we've always heard but didn't know what they mean. Yeah. Okay, let's start. Too big for your britches.
Yes.
Number one, britches are jeans.
Yes.
If you live in the South, we're speaking your language here. If you're too big for your britches, they're skinny jeans.
No, I almost feel like that saying probably came from a time when everything was hand-me-downs. And so the britches that you got were too big for you generally, and then you would grow into them. So if you're behaving too big for your britches, then you're behaving older than you are, I guess. What do you think?
I don't know.
You think it's skinny jeans, but I
picture somebody that's too big for their jeans.
Well, they're behaving. They're behaving too big. Like their head is too big, or they're saying things that are too big.
Not a literal
not that
pair
they
of
are
britches.
too big.
They're not too big for their literal pair of britches.
I think so.
That's really misleading.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another podcast. Let's save that.
Absolutely.
Because Erin here made little Post-it notes on everything we're going to talk about today, which totally goes against everything I believe in when it comes to the No Direction podcast.
I have a conspiracy theory for you.
You are the main host. So
I have a conspiracy theory for you.
Yes.
Okay.
I like where this is going already.
We might not get
Let's do this.
all of my notes, but they'll be in future ones. We're going to start with number one.
I'm so excited.
Okay.
All right, shoot. Let's see it. What is it?
What are your thoughts on the 1969 lunar landing?
I wasn't even born. I was minus 4 years old.
I know you weren't born. I wasn't born either. I was negative, 30? No.
Okay.
22 years.
All right. So you want my take on this? Okay. Mm-hmm. I do believe we landed on,
12 years. 12 years. I got to math it right. Negative 12 years for me.
You weren't even an itch. Never mind.
I hope not.
Yeah. Oh, Lord.
Lunar landing. Lunar landing.
Why is this so funny? Okay, lunar. Am I red?
Yes.
You're a little red.
Just like your shirt.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan is the GOAT, by the way. Maybe that's another conversation. Okay, so the lunar landing, I think we did land on the moon. Okay. I don't think the footage that we see is the actual landing on the moon. I think that was produced. Of everything I've seen,
okay, interesting.
I think it's probably, and I'm not a conspiracy guy. I'm one that just shoots those things down. But I've seen interviews with Buzz Aldrin. I've seen, I don't know. I look at the dynamics of how they're behaving on the moon, and it doesn't look like they're in space. That's not how it behaves. That's not how dust on the moon behaves. That's not how any of those things behave.
But how would you know unless they showed us a video of how it behaves? Is that from current video that you've seen that you're comparing it to, or where is your information coming from? And don't say a Hollywood produced movie.
Okay, this is embarrassing. Where does my information, my reputable information, incredible information,
where you can compare the two,
straight from Joe Rogan?
Okay, all right, that's fair. I think that he has some really credible people on his show that come on and
but
sometimes.
The thing I like about Joe Rogan is not everything he believes or thinks, is that he's genuinely curious and he's open to hearing stuff. And so some of the guests he's had, I've watched this moon landing stuff, and I'm going, man, I think we were there, but I think it had a lot to do with the war to show Russia we're there. And even though
don't
maybe
come at
we
us
weren't,
because our tech is much better than your tech.
Well, yeah, because the Russians were pushing up against us really hard on space travel and going to the moon and those types of things. And, we had to show them we're not behind you. And that was really important. It was like psychological warfare. It's better than bloodshed.
Sure.
I'd rather do the psychological warfare.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. Now, did we really land there? If we didn't, they produced a movie that showed that we did and produced that and showed that to America. The Russians obviously saw that. They wanted the Americans to see it for confidence. They wanted the Russians to see it to be like, oh, okay, they're not that far behind us.
Right.
They may even be ahead of us. Nobody could do that. If you're not on the moon, if you're literally not on the moon, Hollywood can put you on the moon. And I think we either landed, but I don't think that's the real recording of the landing and all that. Or we didn't go and it was just filmed and they just said we did, but we went later.
Okay, so you don't believe that the actual footage we're seeing is the landing of the moon. Either way, the footage we're seeing is Hollywood produced.
Yeah, I think I lean towards that's not actual footage of us on the moon. I lean that way, but I don't know.
Okay.
I know that's a cop-out, but
I wonder if we'll ever
it's
know.
The truth.
Well, the reason why I brought it up is because I saw a video, because I'm always on the socials. And so I saw a video the other day where it was comparing the lunar landing of 1969 versus space travel today.
Yeah.
And space travel today, in news conferences, people of NASA and the government, I think a little bit, are constantly telling news reporters when they're asked, can you show us live footage? Their response is always, it's too complicated to show you live footage of what's going on up there. The cameras wouldn't work, or the tech wouldn't work, or it takes too much time, so we can record it and then show you later, but we can't show you live. However, in 1969, they could show us live. So why can't they show it to us live, 54 years later, 55 years later?
That's interesting.
And so that was interesting to me because today in news conferences, they're telling us we cannot show it to you live.
Okay, but wait a second. You can get on the internet right now and go to the International Space Station website, and it is a live feed of it moving all the way around the Earth. It's traveling at about 17,000 miles per hour. That is fast. Okay, but it's focused. It's focused on the Earth. It is a live feed.
It's a live feed from the space station.
Yes.
So do you think that maybe they're telling us it's a live feed and really it might be like a day late?
You never know. Like, how are we know?
Well,
how do we know?
My only frame of reference is these interviews that tell us we can't show you this stuff live.
Well, they can't show you stuff live from the moon, right? From places further out. But the atmosphere, we have satellites there that you can see from the ground.
That's true.
But there's apparently...
But you see the moon from the ground.
Yeah. But what I've learned is apparently there's this force, radiation or something force around the Earth that some people say we can't get past that. Right. Even though we've claimed to have done so and been to the moon, they say we can't get past that. I don't know who's, we've never been to the moon. We've never, and there are people who say things like that. I don't know if that's true. I'm not a scientist.
Right. And I don't know if that's true also. I mean, I've never questioned the 1969 lunar landing until I saw the video of NASA saying, we cannot show that to you live.
Yeah.
Because they could in 1969.
Wow.
So it's kind of a weird thinker. They do say things like, we're landing on the dark side. And so because the moon's technically in the way of,
it's dark. Moon, how do they know they're landing on the dark side?
If the moon is in between us and Earth, we can't do it. Mm-hmm. But can we do it if there's nothing between us and the moon? If they're on the light side? Anyways, it was an interesting reel that I saw because it does bring up those conspiracy theory thoughts of, did we actually land on the moon in 1969? And like you said, maybe we did, and it was Hollywood produced as proof.
Yeah, kind of a reproduction of this is how it went down.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. All we know, this is the danger of media. Mm-hmm. All we know is what they feed us.
Totally.
It used to be newspapers, and everything was grassroots level. Like when I grew up in Georgia, I had no idea what was happening in Virginia.
Right.
I had no idea what was happening in Oregon. I had no idea what was happening in the Middle East or in Europe or anybody else. We got our local paper, we looked at it, and we're like, oh, this is what's happening in our local neck of the woods.
Yes.
And then media happened. Ted Turner brought it in, 24-hour news. And how do you fill 24 hours worth of local news? You don't.
Yeah. You
have local news, you have national news, you have international news, you have global news. And all of a sudden, you can easily fill 24 hours of news cycles.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it used to be we were getting, this is what happened. And then they shut up. Mm-hmm. This is what happened. Okay, we can see through the video what happened. And then they started commentating opinions on what happened. And now we have CNN, now we have Fox,
right.
Now we have the right and the left, and everything is divided. I wish they would stop telling us what they think about what happened. I don't care what you think what happened. I want to think for myself.
Right.
But now they've conditioned us to the point to where we don't think for ourselves. We fall a little bit to the left or we fall a little bit to the right. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna listen to the news station that tickles our fancy, so to speak, and we're just going to believe everything that they say and use those talking points.
Help me know what I'm supposed to think is what we approach it as.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know what to think. Help me with this. And
we used to trust ourselves.
Yeah.
But we don't trust ourselves anymore, not because we're not trustworthy, but because it's easier to have somebody else think for us and say, this is what to believe. Mm-hmm. And if we like it, we'll believe it. If we don't, we won't. There's a bunch of reasons for that.
Right.
But we're not a thinking nation anymore. We don't. We just look at it and we be like, well, I think this. Well, why do you think that?
I don't know, because this person told me that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, well, because I heard on Fox or I heard on CNN, and this is why I think that makes sense to me. No. Somebody made sense of it for you.
Right.
You had no independent thought whatsoever. You're a sheep. There's sheep on both sides of this thing.
Do you think
and sheep are stupid because they don't think.
Do you think the reason why people don't tend to think for themselves or put themselves out there is fear of being challenged or rejection or being told that their thoughts and ideas are stupid or dumb?
Yes, and the reason why is because they haven't had any independent thought, and they take it hook, line, and sinker, and so they don't know how to defend their stance.
Sure.
They have not thought it through. I talk to people all the time, and I'll say, well, what do you think? And they'll say, well, what do you think about this? And I'll be like, well, no, because science is this, or because these are like some facts of what happened or whatnot. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? Why do you think what you think? And then they can't tell you.
Right.
Like, why are you out here protesting? Why are we back here protesting? They don't have any damn clue why they're there. They don't even know.
Why are we here again?
My next question is, are you employed? Mm-hmm. And it's typically no.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wait, what are you doing here? Why are you doing this?
Yes.
Good for you, but why? Tell me about help me understand why you're protesting. You want to get the word out about why you're protesting, what you're protesting. Now tell me the why. They can't.
Sure.
They can't. And if they can, it's very limited. Mm-hmm. And that's not just Democrats. That's Republicans too. They have no idea why they believe what they believe. All they know is, well, I love Trump, and so I support this. Whoa, 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 whoa. Well, what about this? Well, you're a bigot, or, you're a libtard or whatever. And then the liberals do the same thing. Oh, you're a MAGA guy. You're a racist. Right. You're misogynistic. What is misogyny? Can you tell me? Can you define misogyny for me? Well, I don't know. I don't know what misogyny means, but it's you. And it's like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And it's on both sides. And I'm sorry I'm so passionate about this. It makes me sick. This is why I'm a registered independent. Okay? Yeah. I don't want to identify with either side of you idiots. Okay? Because there's idiots on both sides who don't have an independent thought.
Right.
They've been told what to believe, mm-hmm. and they says, well, I like that. I'll just run with it. They've done no personal independent research. And that's why neither people on the right, mm-hmm. on the right or the left, that's why they have a very hard time defending their views, and that's why nobody has conversation with one another. Rant over.
Well, I think...
Until you start me up again.
Yeah, well, I'm going to start you up again. So, well, I think that with you mentioning, you're just MAGA, you're just libtard, whatever. Nobody mm-hmm. wants to be called a name. And so when we start name calling or tearing people down, then our ideas stop being shared because we don't want to have an individual thought, thinking or knowing that somebody somewhere is going to tear us down. You see that all the time on social media. Mm-hmm. People will have an independent thought, and then people will just tear them down for no reason whatsoever. And sometimes they just slip into the comments just to say something when they could have just kept strolling on by, right? Sure. So like, for instance, like you have a car dealership, right? Mm-hmm. And you're super excited about this new car that's coming out, and then somebody slips into the comments and says, oh, I'll never buy that brand of car. Is that necessary?
Not Ford, not Chevy.
That's like zero necessary on the scale of necessary things.
Yeah.
It's just scroll on with your life, man. Like, why are you so angry? And I also think that it's really hard to do research on things because even as you're doing research, mm-hmm. people are telling you what to think, right? It's really hard to find fact-based things, especially in the world of digital media mm-hmm. and the Mandela effect, right?
Oh, man. That's a podcast.
Yeah. I mean,
Mandela.
Nelson Mandela. The Mandela effect. I always screw up that name, but
he's actually Morgan Freeman. That's another. Yeah, continue, please.
But it's all these things where it's like for instance, that low-hanging fruit, no pun intended, with Fruit of the Loom. Okay, I'm not that kind of low-hanging fruit.
What are you looking at me for?
Because you laughed and you did this.
I did not. You can't show that. That is not true. You're seeing things.
Well, so if you're doing research and you're trying to prove a point to Jamie, because Jamie needs you to back up your thoughts with evidence.
Yes.
Tell me why
not unreasonable.
It's not unreasonable.
Thank you.
Tell me why you have this independent thought. So you say, okay, hold on. Let me go do my own research. You're out there doing your own research. And let's say your independent thought is Fruit of the Loom in their logo had a cornucopia. And I'm dying on the sword with that because that's what I grew up with. Yep. And then you go on the internet and you cannot find a single Fruit of the Loom logo with a cornucopia until you come across somebody who has posted a photo of a vintage piece of clothing that has the Fruit of the Loom tag with the cornucopia. And then all of a sudden you're questioning everything. So it's hard to have, I say all this and let's reverse and go back to where we started. It's hard to have an individual thought about anything.
Yeah.
Because you're not even sure that what you are kind of regurgitating out to the masses is actual fact. And then people are challenging you, and then you clam up because you're being called a MAGA or a libtard or whatever. And then you're clamming up and you're like, oh shit, I'm just not going to share. Yeah. And then I'm just going to be over here in my own world thinking what I want to think, and then you guys go ahead and take over.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, that's exactly what the government wants. I don't mean to be, they don't want you discussing.
No.
They don't want you tolerating one another. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
If we're fighting each other,
absolutely,
then we are so distracted.
Yeah. If we're united The government really is a peon in this whole life.
Could you imagine if we were united? Holy shit. It would be so amazing.
I'll give you the one reason why we're not. The one reason why we're not. And yeah, independent research and all that. And then it's like, where do you get that independent research? From non-biased people? Yeah, good luck. Right?
Sure.
Because, and here's something I had to learn and accept, because I was really wrong for a long time about a lot of things I used to believe, grew up believing, et cetera, is science doesn't say anything. Scientists do. And so it's my job to look at the evidence, whether it's science or history or what have you, and set the commentaries aside at first. But try to figure it out on my own. Well, how? Use brain cells. It's called common sense. Okay? You look at things like, it used to be that, and I know this is a hot subject, but these are just facts, okay? America has a horrible history about slavery. When I learned that Americans, by and large, did not just kidnap folks and bring them over here, but that there were other black people who sold black slaves to white people, that changed my whole perspective. It doesn't mean we were less guilty. This country was less guilty.
Oh, yeah, it was awful.
Yeah. But think about what you've always thought about slavery. We went over there, we captured them like animals, put them in the boat and brought them over here. That's not what happened. And that blew my mind, because that's what I always thought happened. But when I did research, as many people, you can look it up, it's just clear history. Now, I'm not saying that didn't occur at all, but by and large, they were sold to Americans in Africa, and Americans brought them here like products, which was horribly bad. But the point being is that the main reason we are so divided is pride. When you find out you're wrong about something on an issue, what do? Do we change our beliefs? No, we dig in our heels and we start calling each other names, and we start dividing even further. There have been lots of things politically I've been wrong about. And when I discovered it, I wanted to dig in my heels and not admit that I was wrong, because I have talked to how many people about this viewpoint.
Right.
And now I discover I'm wrong. What am I supposed to do? I will, you know how stupid I'm going to look if I change my belief? No, you're going to look human, and you're actually going to look intelligent, because you're open to new ideas and facts.
Sure.
It's forget my feelings. It's facts over feelings. It really is. You have to respond to facts, not your feelings.
You would
If something's true, you have to deal with it as truth. And if that means you've got to backpedal, apologize, or to say, oh my God, I was wrong, get in line. You're human. Of course you were wrong. I'm wrong. You're wrong. We're all wrong to some degree, but it's people who are unwilling to admit that they're wrong and say, you know what? I was wrong about that. I'm going to go here. They're afraid of the backlash on that.
Yes, absolutely. That's
exactly
what
you were saying.
Yeah, they're afraid that somebody's going to dig in and say, okay, you were wrong. Okay.
So what?
Good for you for being a free thinker. A lot of people would think that.
I'm a married man. I'm wrong a lot. Maybe I'm just used to it.
Well, then there's other people who would say, okay, you were wrong on this thing. It was a pretty big deal. I bet you're wrong on everything. I'll bet you're wrong on everything you think. And so as soon as you admit that you're wrong, there's there's always two sides to the coin.
Yeah.
And it's hard being a human, first of all. Yeah. And then it's hard to live in a world where there isn't enough grace out there.
Oh man, yeah.
You know, it's like we just need to have grace for each other. And not everybody has everything right all the time on anything. Let
me ask you a question. It goes right along with what you're just saying right there.
Yeah.
Imagine if we had no emotions attached to what we believe politically. What kind of different climate would we have today? There's no emotions attached to what we think.
If we voted just fact-based?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it would be...
Not just voted fact-based, but if we held ideas without emotion attached to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel with all my heart that this should be a freedom, or I feel with all my heart, and it just saddens me that if there's nothing wrong with those emotions, but what if those emotions were detached? And we use common sense to say, okay, wait a second. Is this in line or is this not in line? Forget how I feel about it.
Sure.
Because it's our feelings that keep us from admitting when we're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we not want to admit when we're wrong or that we've been wrong? Because I feel bad. I will feel blank. It's always feelings that hold us back from doing the right thing, it seems. And, I'll give you one example. I don't want to get into the details. Okay. I was wrong about January 6th. When January 6th happened, I was very opinionated about that. I'm not happy it happened today, but I was pissed. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because I don't know what January 6th was. Am I supposed to know what January 6th was?
It was when a bunch of people went into the White House.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I'm on the same page. That's what I was thinking you were. Anyways, doesn't matter.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm here.
Yeah. But I had a very strong opinion about that. There have been several things in sports I had a very strong opinion about. Mm-hmm. And I really looked at some of the statistics and the facts and this and that. I was wrong. I was dead wrong. And I tweeted about it. I was, Michael Rappaport. Do you know who Michael Rappaport is? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. He was, he railed. This is just one example. And examples go, this is just one example. He railed against Trump. He hated Trump, especially when it came to the there's good people on both sides kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And then he listened to the speech in its entirety. And he came out and he goes, this was just recently, look it up, Michael Rappaport. He came out and he said, that's not what he said. And I still don't like the guy. But dude, I had that wrong. Now, that's just one example, but there's people on both sides doing this thing.
Sure.
And shout out to Michael Rappaport for recognizing that he was wrong. Mm-hmm. And he came out and said something about it. And he tweeted relentlessly about it against Trump. Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's stuff both ways. It was just one example. I was so impressed by that. And he and I don't align politically. Mm-hmm. He's on the far left. Okay. I'm then the moderate right. And I admire Michael Rappaport, even though we don't agree on stuff, that he came out and said, you know what? I was wrong. And I can identify with that because I too have had right things on the right that I thought were right. And I discovered, wait a minute, I was wrong about that. I wanted to be right about that. It felt good. Oh, felt good to be right about that against the left. But you know what? I was wrong.
Yeah. So taking your feelings out. I mean, there's a reason why businesses hire third-party independent auditors, right?
Absolutely.
Because they have zero skin in the game. They could care less if your business succeeds or if it fails. They're just going to lay out the facts for you.
Yeah.
And so if we looked at politics in a way that there was no emotion, which, by the way, will never happen.
No.
It just won't.
No.
But if we looked at it just very factual, like science, right? You were saying scientists give us facts. Facts can be skewed, right? 10% of, something could mean one thing if the something is very large, but it can mean quite a different thing if something's very small, right? Yeah. It's like the city of Gresham just came out and said, there's a certain statistic, I think it was a crime statistic that came out and said that there's 400% more of something. And somebody said, okay, well, is that 400% more of 2? So is it 8? Or
in that 8-block neighborhood.
Right. Or is it 400% more of like 30? That would be more concerning than going from 2 to 8. But going from 30 to whatever 400% more is.
You can mess with the sample size and get anything you want.
Right. So if you're looking at politics like factual science, math, and you're just looking at the statistics like Moneyball, right? Yeah. Then I think politics would be very different. We'd probably be in a much different place with our national debt. We'd be in a different place with how we treat humans and how we look at laws, and just looking at things more factually than religiously or how I think or how I feel about things. Yeah, it'd be a different ballgame for sure.
It would be. I mean, you think about what is the common ingredient when you're shouting others down, yet you're calling them a fascist? Okay.
Right.
What is the common denominator when we are attacking others verbally or we're ostracizing others because of their beliefs or their choices or their identity or whatever? What is the common denominator in all of that? It's emotion.
Right.
if you take emotion out of it, and we can't do that collectively as a nation. That's never going to happen. But you can, and I can get away one-on-one and say, okay, why do I think this? Mm-hmm. And is this fact-based or emotion-based? There's nothing wrong with emotion-based beliefs. Mm-hmm. It's okay. We all have them. They're called morals. Okay.
Sure.
You can't see morals. Show me morals. You can't show me an ounce of morals. You can't do that. Okay. I'm not saying get rid of emotions and be, wet robots. Okay. I'm just saying that
emotions are good. We should have emotions.
Agreed.
Yeah. But there's some things that we should approach factually. However,
we should approach everything factually if it's possible.
But when people are involved, for instance, you're voting a person in, taking those emotions away because the person you're voting for is an emotion, sparks emotion.
Sure it
right?
does. Yeah.
Like I was looking at our voters pamphlet.
Oh, yeah.
It just came in the mail.
I just got mine too,
right?
Yeah.
I'm also an independent, registered independent. And which means for people who don't know, because a lot of people don't know this, but in the primary, you can only vote your party.
Right.
So you can only vote for the candidates in your party. And what that does is it says, okay, that now these people are now going on and we're going to vote for them in the primaries in November, right? So you've got presidential choices that are Republican, presidential choices that are Democrat, and usually presidential choices that are independent. Mm-hmm. However, we don't have that choice this year.
Yep.
And so we've got 2 Democrats to choose from, one that did not submit anything into the voters pamphlet. So you got to do your own research, which, by the way, voters pamphlets, people submit their point of view or their side of the thing of things. And so if you see somebody's running, but they're not in the voter pamphlet, it just means that they decided that they weren't going to participate in that.
Why?
Well,
do you not know what?
There's a fee
that you're running for. I mean,
there's a fee for it, and so I don't know how much a presidential election would
probably
be.
A lot. What about grassroots though? Is that a lot of money? Like I don't know anything about this.
Sure. Well, it depends on the market. But so I'm looking at the voter's guide, right? I've got 2 Democrats, and then there's Republican. Now I can't vote for either because I'm independent. But what I'm bringing back to the table as far as emotion goes, I want to take my emotion away when it comes to looking at a president.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's going to be the leader of our country, but looking at our 2 choices, you've got Trump and you've got Biden. As a citizen of the United States of America,
are we going to know how Aaron's going to vote?
I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you today.
I will not interrupt you again. Please continue.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Sorry.
I am frustrated that we are not being provided with quality candidates. Maybe I'm talking out loud on this podcast and I have a lot of Trump supporters listening. Maybe I have a lot of Biden supporters listening, but my own personal opinion, I don't think either one of those are quality candidates. And what I'd love is to be presented as a voter with candidates who are viable, who will do what's right for the American public, all these kinds of things in my mind, right?
Yeah.
I would love a vote that comes down to a 60-40, where people aren't digging their heels in and voting their political party only because it's their political party. Vote for the person that is the best for the job.
Yeah.
And we've been so closely, so close with our elections lately that and we're so divided as a country. Yeah. We really truly need a president who can come in and help guide us as a country back to
that would be
being a one nation.
That would be amazing.
Being a great nation. And I'm just very frustrated and very sad that the Republican Party and the Democratic Party are playing such a game that we don't have any really great options, and it's frustrating, and I'm sad, and that's where I have a hard time taking the emotion out. Now, I can take the emotion out when I'm voting for
the person,
a measure or a tax, those kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
But when I'm voting for a person, I'm looking at what do they stand for and what are the morals that they stand for that I will die on my sword for, and some that I could be a little wishy-washy with, right?
Well, there's got to be compromise.
Sure.
You can't get what you want and everybody.
Yeah, because I have voted Republican and I have voted Democrat, but I look and I see where's their money coming from, right? Because you can look at that. It's very transparent. Follow the money.
Who's funding this guy?
Yep. Who's funding? Why are they funding? Yeah. Do you believe in those causes? So who's funding the person? And then looking and seeing what they're saying. Because they say one thing on the campaign trail, and they can go back and do something completely different. Because the only people that they really have to be, the only people that they have to be accountable with are the people who shove money in their faces. Right? Those are the ones that say, I'm going to give you money, but you have to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to give you money, but we got to do these things. Yeah. And so follow the money. Yeah. And if you don't agree with it, vote for the other guy, but don't not vote. You got to vote. Please vote. Yeah. Please vote for something. I have to look really internally and figure out who I'm going to vote for. But there's also a theory out there that the Democratic Party is putting Biden up as a candidate.
So he loses.
So he wins, and then he dies while he's president, and then now we have a black female president.
Yeah. Well, I frankly thought that was going to happen before this November.
Yeah.
It's too late now. The Democrat Party, they don't even like the vice president. They don't put her in charge of anything. They don't let Kamala do anything. I think they learned that early on. I don't think anybody really knew. I think people suspected she didn't have any real experience.
Is she running with him again?
She put a bunch of people in prison in California, and even when there was evidence that they were innocent, she kept them. She wouldn't do anything. But I mean, there's history of that. But listen, every politician has dirt.
Oh,
they've
absolutely.
all done just unethical things. There is no ethical president. There is no real ethical politician in my view. I'm probably wrong. I just don't see it that way. I just don't. And so, when I'm thinking about who to vote for, I don't care if your name's Donald Trump, Joe Biden. I don't care if your name is Obama. I don't care if it's Michelle Obama, or some people would say Michael Obama. I don't care I don't care who you are. I don't care what I feel about you. I don't care what America feels about you. This is what I do. And it's just me. Mm-hmm. I remove the name. I don't care. What are your policies? What are you going to do with my pocketbook? What are you going to do with this economy? What are you going to do with the schools? What are you going to do with et cetera? And I have some things I die on too. And then most other things I have to compromise because there's no perfection here.
Right.
You have to pick the least of the evils most of the time, right? I look at policies and how it's going to affect me and my family, not just me and my family, but our community, our state, et cetera.
Right.
I don't care what your name is because there hasn't been a ethical president nearly in my lifetime, except for if you want to go back to maybe Ronald Reagan when I was I don't know how old I was. Not old. I wasn't even 10, I don't think, when Ronald Reagan was president. That's the last ethical president I even remember. And I don't even know how ethical he was. What do we not know? I don't know. God rest his soul. Obama lied to us about all kinds of stuff, and nobody wants to admit that. George H.W. Bush, he did some things. George W. Bush, he did some things. Obama lied to it. Clinton lied to it. I mean, don't get me started on Clinton. He was a good president. I like Clinton.
Well, there's...
But dude, he was not ethical. What was ethical about what he did? Yeah. They all did some good things, but they weren't ethical people. Let's not get it twisted. JFK, everybody, JFK, always the best president in my lifetime. Stop it.
Well, and then
he was not ethical. He was not a good man.
When you're in that position,
none of them are good.
You have to make hard decisions, and sometimes the hard decision you have to make is not the ethical one.
No.
Which sucks.
The ethical one is not always the right one.
Right.
Okay.
Which seems like an oxymoron here, right?
I know.
But it's
I know.
It's true. It's
if you vote on some utopic ideal that's never going to come to pass, like a United States, okay, that's never going to happen. We're not going to be united, not completely, not the way it used to be. I don't see that. Neither one of these candidates are going to do that. So let's set the names aside. What's the policy?
Right.
What are the policies?
Exactly.
Vote on the policies.
Yes.
And here's another thing. if you're afraid to vote for Trump this November, if Biden's running, dude, it's a no-brainer to me. Okay? I need a president that knows his name. Okay? I need a president, and I feel sorry. I feel sorry for Joe Biden because I think he was placed in the front like that. I think that was a huge disservice to him. I really do. But when you vote this November, I'm not telling you how to vote. What I'm saying is,
look at the policies.
Screw your feelings.
Yeah, look at the policies.
Screw your feelings about Trump. Forget your feelings about Biden. I mean, okay, I'm not going to get into the last 4 years. Okay, I'm not going to get into the southern border. I'm not going to get into all these. You just, it's really difficult because, frankly, I don't like either one of them. Okay?
Well, voting for a president shouldn't be a difficult decision. It should be a decision that, based on your moral and your ethics, right, you are presented with 2, sometimes 3 opportunities if you get an independent. Mostly it's just 2 opportunities, and you look at both of them. And based on your morals and your ethics and what they stand for, it should be very clear to you who you're going to vote for, right?
Yeah.
It is not clear. There's a lot of things on both. I can tell you,
I agree.
I am not a lover of Trump. I think the way that he treats people like shit pisses me off. Mm-hmm. And I have a really hard time deep down in my gut voting for somebody like that.
Yeah.
But I also don't agree with a lot of things that Biden has been doing, right? So it's going to be a very, very hard and very personal decision. And there's going to be a lot of inner monologue going on. And I only wish that in 4 years, when we are presented with presidential candidates, that the Republican Party and the Democratic Party get their asses or their heads out of their asses and present us with viable candidates and quit playing a fucking game. It's driving me crazy. It is not okay.
Our lives are not a game.
It's not okay.
No, our lives are not a game. And I remember when I discovered that the 2 people running for president were Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. I was flipping tables. I'm like, there's how many people are in this country? How many was it? 200 million? I don't know how many people are in this country.
A lot.
This is the cream of the crop for us. Really. Now, I don't know. So in the end, though, I've got to take my emotion out of both sides of this thing, okay? Because, I'm a fully devoted Christian, okay? Sure. I do my best, okay? And to see, and I'm not saying Trump's not a Christian, okay? But to see a political candidate cloak himself in what I believe and then watch behaviors that seem to me to be contrary. Now, this is me not trying to judge what he believes and, between him and him. That's between him and him, not me and him, okay?
Right.
I could be way wrong. And if I am, I'll be the first to admit it. I've admitted a lot of things I was wrong. But the things that anger me is when someone who can produce that much pride and arrogance cloaks themselves in what my belief system says we should have humility. And I struggle with pride too. Okay, so I'm not judging him. I'm just saying that it's hard to watch sometimes. I'm going, why did you do that? Like that's not what this is about. That's not what he says to do. That's not, but yet he's saying that's who he is.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's not who he's not. And I know I'm throwing a lot of disclaimers here because I'm not judgmental. But even the Bible says, a tree by the fruit that's on it. Mm-hmm. And so, not making a final judgment on Donald Trump, but I look at a lot of things. And maybe if my life was in the public eye like his was, maybe you'd say the same thing about me because we're all imperfect. There's no perfect people, right? You go to the gym and there's fit people. There's heavy set people. You don't go to the gym and be like, look at all these heavy set people. They have no business being here. Why do they have a membership here? It's like going to church. It's like, man, that guy's really bad off. That dude has a horrible life, yet he's in church. What's going on? It's like the heavyset person's in the gym trying to get better. Mm-hmm. That's what the church is, right? And that's what the gym is. We're all trying to get better. So I'm real careful not to pass judgment. But I got to tell you, man, it's hard for me. It's hard for me.
Yeah.
And some of that is my problem. Sometimes I hold other people, like let's say Donald Trump, to a standard that I'm not living. Uh-oh.
You know what would be really...
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
we got to be really careful about judging him and judging Biden as well. Because if we were judged the same way we're judging those two guys, where would we be on the spectrum?
Well...
Where would we be?
When you do interviews with people and say how you like to go into the dressing room and just be naked with the other women in the dressing room, and you're not a woman and there's no reason for you to be in there, I feel like that's on you, and it's not my judgment on you.
Who said that?
Trump said that in an interview. And that's not my judgment on him. That's just facts. That's just...
Well, I'm glad he's in a women's... It
was for like Miss America or something.
Oh, was it really? Oh, he used to run that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So what I would find would be very interesting is if you took 2 surveys, okay?
Oh,
you took a survey and you said to everybody who would naturally be voting for Trump, right? Mm-hmm. And you said, would you vote for Trump if there was another Republican candidate to vote for? Mm. And you don't tell them who it is. You're just curious. Mm-hmm. Would you vote for
that held the same
this other person?
They held the same views and policies.
Right. Same views, same policies, different human being.
Okay.
Same thing with
different personality.
Same thing with Biden, right? I'd be very curious to see the big Trump supporters, what their views would be. Right? Who would they vote for? Are they just voting for him because he's only the Republican candidate? Mm. Are they just voting for Biden because he's the only Democrat candidate?
Or most of them are like, I'm voting for Biden because he's not Trump.
Right.
I don't care what his policies are. That is ignorant. That is so stupid. I can't even wrap my mind around. I'm going to vote for that person because he's not that person. Well, what about his policies? I don't care about his policies. He's not him, so I'm voting for him.
Yeah.
That is so stupid.
Yeah.
You're shooting yourself in the foot.
Which then constantly just keeps
and both sides do it.
Dividing, right? Right now, the United States is like taffy.
Absolutely.
Just being pulled so far. It's insane.
When's it going to snap?
Anyways, Man on the Moon, 1969.
Oh, come on, man.
So I don't think we can get into any more of our subjects, but I got 3 more.
Let's hit them.
Well, no, man, they're going to be a while.
We're going to get some mail on this one.
I feel like the other subjects, they're not going to fit into this at all, but we should definitely talk about them on other podcast recordings because...
Are you just mad at me? Did I say something to bother you?
No, I thought everything you were saying makes sense. I mean, you and I, we don't agree politically or with religion, right? And then there's a few other things that we definitely don't agree on.
Yeah.
However, I think that by us doing a podcast together and sharing our political views and being able to have a discussion...
Yeah.
That we can walk away from and say, man, I'm still friends with you. Or even walk away from and say, I respect your opinion. Yeah. You know, why can't more people have that? I mean, I'm not sitting here calling you names because you have an opinion, right?
Yeah.
That's we can't move forward that way. That
can't.
Brings us, that dumbs down our entire society. We have to be able to have constructive conversations. Yeah. Even if we come away disagreeing, but saying, okay, thank you for sharing your side, your point of view.
Absolutely. Or if we walk away feeling like, you know what? Geez, maybe I need to rethink this.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not right on this. Mm-hmm. Are people even, is that even a consideration for people that they might be wrong? And if it's not, then dude, you have capped out in intelligence. You have literally capped out. You're not going any further if you're not open to the fact that you could be wrong.
Right.
I mean, geez.
Right.
I don't understand that. I mean, I do because I used to be that way. I fully understand it, and I fully understand how stupid it is. Mm-hmm. And just because you don't believe what I believe doesn't make you stupid. You know what I mean? And vice versa.
Right. Is that your way of calling me stupid without calling me stupid?
Well...
No, but you're absolutely right. You know, I mean, you get to live your life your way as long as you're not hurting anybody. Same, I get to live my life my way as long as I'm not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
And we could still be friends. And if I have a question about something, I know that I can come to you and you will be honest with your opinion.
Sure.
And you're not going to try to convert me or instill your opinions on me or make sure that I'm doing the things that you're doing the way that you're doing them. You're just giving information. And then I get to take that information and do with it what I want.
Yeah.
And I get to decide, okay, was I thinking in the right way? Was, do I need to change my opinion? And that's on me. And that's where a constructive, positive conversation comes in.
Absolutely.
We don't have to call each other names, and even if you said something that I thought you were completely wrong, I will still sit here and listen to your opinion because I am smarter and more worldly knowing the opinions from other people, right?
Oh,
maybe you have a question or a point of view that I never thought of because you think a different way than I do or because you have a different religion or a different political leaning.
Yeah.
And that's kind of refreshing. And, and I might think, oh, I never thought about it that way. That's an interesting point of view, you know, and then maybe I can explore it or maybe it just sits there on the shelf.
Well, and that's a very humble spirit that you have about you, that you're able to do that. People who are arrogant, they won't listen to anybody else. I hate Biden or I hate Trump. Therefore, I'm not going to listen to anything. I'm not going to listen to anything he has to say. Well, you got to stop it. You have gone straight stupid. Okay. Sorry. You just have.
STOOPID.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. That's called arrogance. Arrogance, think about this. Arrogance always results in an attempt to control somebody else. Arrogance never is just self-absorbed. It is self-absorption of arrogance always manifests itself in, I'm so arrogant, it manifests itself that I'm going to make you have power over you to believe what I believe. I'm going to convert you, and if you don't, you're stupid. That is a sense of that. It's really psychologically abusive and emotionally abusive to do that to people, to ostracize them because they won't come to your side. And so my arrogance, I won't listen to facts I should consider. I'm just going to stand on the fact of what I believe, and I'm not going to move no matter what evidence you present to me. I'm not going to consider any of it. Why? Because I have too much pride. I'm too arrogant to admit that I might be wrong even just a little bit.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm going to now attempt to control you, shut your voice down so that you can't do it. This is all hate and such. You have no right to be here to say this and to say that. It's all about control.
Yeah.
And when we release control, I don't try to control you. Why would I do that?
That'd be way too much work for you.
And I don't know how to do it. You are a wild stallion. You're not domesticated.
Domesticated.
I said escacada.
Domesticated.
Oh, anyway, so let's leave the fine people of Estacada alone.
Yes.
Anyway, we got to stop trying to control each other. That's really what it comes down to. We're just as bad as the stupid government. We're trying to control each other, and when we can't, we divide. Just let each other be. You know what I mean? If I want to wear a dress, just leave me alone. Let me wear my dress. You know what I'm saying?
Why not?
Look, you want to do what you do, you go do what you do.
Right.
What do I care? What do I need to control you?
Right.
I don't need to control you.
I think by trying to control people, that the people who are tired of being controlled go completely opposite the other way.
Yeah.
As far as I'm going to lash out as much as possible so that you can't control me. And then I'll look so uncontrollable, and then other people will join me, and it's like it's breeding this ugly ball of mistrust.
Yeah.
And, I have some friends that I can't follow them on Facebook because the stuff that they share a lot of the times is so ugly and gross. But when I'm with them one-on-one, they're a really great human being. But I have a really hard time convincing anybody of that because of what they share on Facebook. So is our the interactions that we have one-on-one, is that the real person? Or is it the person on social media where there's no accountability, essentially?
That's a good
question. Is that
question.
the real person? Which is interesting. And why does it have to be two totally different people? I don't know. I wish you would just share with me who you are so I can make my own decisions. And maybe that's the person they're sharing on social media is kind of they're scared.
Their pseudo self or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Their alter ego, maybe.
I don't know.
It's interesting. Social media has given so many people more power than they really need. Yeah. You know, those keyboard warriors, just like we were saying, you know, a while ago, is, you know, you come across a post from like a car dealership or whatever.
Yeah.
Super excited to share with you this new car. And then you get this troll puts a comment, I will never buy X car type or whatever. I'll never buy an EV. Ruh. I mean, it's not necessary. Just keep scrolling, man.
And
just
the guy would never
on.
say that. Guy would never step foot on the parking in the car lot, look at that salesman to his face and say it.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's just cowardly. Like, there's no reason for it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's gross.
You know, when we try to control each other like that, we have become the government. That's exactly what they're trying to do. I'm not anti-government. I'm just, look, this is what they do. They want as many people in the middle class as possible. Okay? Think about this. I heard this the other day. You give a homeless guy a traffic ticket, do you think he gives a rip? He don't care. Right. You give the wealthy guy a traffic ticket, you think he gives a rip?
No.
It's probably not even going to reach his house. Okay?
Yeah.
You know, it's probably going to be in some
his people will take care of it for them.
Yeah. But what about the middle class guy? Mm-hmm. Middle class gal. That's who's really getting taxed.
Yeah,
and I do estate planning.
Out.
I do estate planning.
Yeah.
And it's not that the rich aren't taxed. It's just they know the IRS code. As much as the IRS tax code is the IRS's strategy to take money from you, it is also a playbook on how to save all of your money from them. Mm. And if you don't know that, you pay a buttload of taxes when you could be avoiding. People like Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Donald Trump, these really wealthy guys, they don't pay taxes. And it's not because they're doing anything illegal. They know the tax code.
Right.
We don't.
Mm-hmm.
The homeless doesn't. The homeless doesn't care about taxes.
Sure.
Neither do the rich. Who cares about taxes?
Yeah,
I do.
Class.
Me too.
Stresses me out.
The middle class.
All the time. I'm constantly thinking about it.
The government would love everybody to be in the middle class because that's where all the control is.
Yeah.
That's where all the control is. And when we try to force you into my box, and you try to force me into your box of beliefs and political stuff, religious stuff, all of it, then all of a sudden there's this, you're trying to control me.
Sure.
And if you're trying to control me, then you've become the government. You're just like the government. I saw you brought up rebellion, kicking back against when people try to control you, right? I learned an equation that helped me raising the kids. The equation is this: rules minus relationship. You put down rules, but you don't have a relationship with them. Rules minus relationship equals rebellion. Mm. Rules minus relationship equals rebellion. But if you have a relationship with somebody, like your children, and you begin to give them guidelines and rules to follow in the house, they're far more likely to fall in line with those healthy habits than they are if you didn't have a relationship at all with them. Mm. You try to lay down rules with people you don't have a relationship with, there's no connection, then don't expect much. You know what I mean? It's just like in sales. Mm-hmm. They tell you to what when you first meet a client? Break the ice.
Right.
Find something in common with your client.
Have a conversation.
Build a bridge. Mm-hmm. Because if you try to jump that gap without breaking the ice and getting a personal connection with them, you're not going to make that sale because people won't buy from you if they don't like you.
Right.
I don't care what you're selling.
Absolutely.
Right? People don't like Donald Trump. A lot of people do not like Donald Trump. Therefore, they're not going to vote for him no matter what he's offering, even if it's for the best of this country. And the same way with Joe Biden. If they don't like Joe Biden, it doesn't matter what he offers. And while that's a fact, it's not very smart for voters to do that.
Right.
I don't like Joe Biden. Okay? I don't like any of it. I don't like any of his. I can't think of one thing he's done that I like. Okay, fine. I didn't know that was going to happen before he was elected. I'm just watch things as they go.
Right.
I can't think of anything that he's done that I think, oh wow, I am so glad he did that. That means so much to me, my family and I. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I can go through a whole litany of things, but I also don't like a lot of things Donald Trump did when he was president.
Right.
I could go through those things too. Here's the thing though. Who cares if I like Joe Biden? Who cares if I like Donald Trump? how is my family, my community, and my children affected by these policies?
Right.
Are we better off or worse off with one or the other? It takes a lot of independent thought.
Yeah,
I will not watch CNN to get my thoughts on Biden. I will not watch Fox to get my thoughts on Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. I know what they're going to say.
Follow the money. Follow the money. Look up and see where they're getting their money from.
Yeah.
Follow it.
Yeah. Follow the money.
It's interesting.
Show me the money.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Are we going to get to anything else today? This was not expected.
I don't. We should not water this down with other things. This was great.
Gold?
Yeah, gold. This the honey pot. Is that what they call it?
The honey pot. Have you seen The Anchorman?
No.
Oh my gosh. You have not seen The Anchorman.
I actively avoid Anchorman.
Okay. This is highly inappropriate, but I'm going to say it anyway.
You should. Is this how we're ending the episode?
Well, maybe. Mm-hmm. So there's this clip. I saw it, but it was a long time ago. I don't even remember the movie hardly. He's Will Ferrell is Ron Burgundy. Mm-hmm. Okay. He's dating this black lady, and he goes over to her house for dinner and meets her whole family. And they're all black, right? He's sitting at the table, and he tries this tactic called assimilation. Do you know what assimilation is? It's where you act like the culture you're visiting so that you can have this like this bridge, like we've been talking about.
Okay, sure.
This common ground. Oh my gosh.
So he overcompensated?
If it wasn't copyrighted, we got to show the clip. He's like, oh yeah, girl, stir the pot, all this stuff. And it was just like, oh my, I can't believe in the state of our country today, like that literally wouldn't fly today.
Right. You're embarrassed for him while he's doing it.
I am so uncomfortable watching this. Yeah. And then there's another movie called Tropic Thunder. Have you seen Tropic Thunder?
Oh, yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. is blackface the whole time.
Yes, he is.
Would that fly today? Like if it was released today, you know how much backlash there would be?
Yeah.
What if Blazing Saddles was released today?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah, it was.
I mean, we used to laugh at all this stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Some people, that's not funny. I'm like, well, okay, to each their own. But anyway, I don't know how to end this thing.
Well, tell them where to find us.
You know what? I really don't know where they can find the No Direction podcast. I think Instagram, yes.
Instagram, TikTok.
YouTube. Facebook. No, we don't have a Facebook page.
Kinda.
We do?
Yeah, we dabble in Facebook. Instagram and TikTok's our sweet spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Apple Podcasts.
Just for all of you out there, Apple Podcasts, yeah. For all of you out there that wonder, why does he know? Because I take care of what you see here, and then I hand her the file. I have no idea what becomes of it. I have no idea what the episode's going to look like.
And you say, bye.
I watch these shorts that go on that she puts up, and I'm going, oh, really? You said, oh, no, you used that. Oh, no. So, but you do a really great job. But I have no idea where we are. I just sit here and I talk to one of my best friends on earth.
Oh, thank you.
And I love you as a friend. This is the highlight of my week. I always look forward to Thursdays.
I do too. It's a good therapy session. Yeah. And I'm super grateful that we have become such close friends.
I know. Yeah. Highly unlikely.
Yeah.
In the climate of this world, look, I want to tell each and every one of you out there, listen closely. If her and I can do it, anybody can do it. Be friends.
Facts.
Be friends. Tolerate one another. Stop being arrogant. Be humble. Realize you could be wrong. Okay? Do your own independent study. Stop watching CNN. Stop watching Fox. Okay? Close the door. Turn the TV off. Use your frickin' common sense. Okay? If you do that, forget the names of the people running for the country. Who cares who they are? They're both unethical. Every president's been unethical. Forget their name. Vote on policy, whichever side you're on. But don't vote for one because you hate the other one. God, that's so stupid. That is so stupid. Just vote your way.
This PSA brought to you by the No Direction Podcast.
By the No Direction Podcast.
Smash all the things, like all the things, share with all your friends.
Yeah.
Bye.
Out. You know what? That went a total different direction.
Yes, it did.
Are you...